All right. Sunshine Glades is now in Tour 5. So if you're an rookie prepping for the touchdown tournament, you can now get Sunshine Glades in T5. So let's go in there and see. I got a pin chest. Let's go see if we can win 8 in a row. Sunshine Glades right off the bat. I may bring out, normally when I'm playing one-on-one, I just bring out Marlins, but I'm going to bring out, if I catch one of the holes that we have in the tournament, I'm going to bring out a bigger ball just so I can try out some stuff as being a prime example. With a 6-3 headwind, it's not really going to make any difference. This is going to be, try and get up there as far as I can. 5-5 headwind, actually. Hit it about 70 rings, great to the left. In the rough. It's the right angle, though. There's always a silver lining. Come on. That's the thing about one-on-one when you're out practicing a one-on-one and you're prepping for a tournament, is that the practice will only take you so far because you're dealing with winds that aren't the same as what we're going to get in the tournament, and going against these big headwinds. I wish in the tournament that they would give us, they would do, and I've been bitching about this since the game came out, that they would give us a course layout just like at a regular course, and we'd know like how the holes are configured, and we work off of a prevailing wind. So from one round to the next, the wind may be different, just depending on the day. Let's see if I can even get up there. I can. So I got to get about 6 miles per hour. Let's see, 4 miles per hour gets me in there. That's what I got for wind. The wind's pushing me off to the left. So I'm going to put just a little bit of overpower on it and let it try and drift up towards the green. Hitting it one ring great to the right. I just try and get myself up there in short pitching range and get back in the game. Sometimes when you make a bad shot, you just have to take your lumps. I mean, a lot of times people make a bad shot and then they come back and you can tell they're trying to recover from that bad shot, and you have to face the facts. You made a bad shot. So put yourself back in play. Put yourself in the best spot to be able to pick up that shot. And roll. That is one of the things about hitting to the right. In one-on-one, normally I hit to the right, but you have 0 chance for Albie. But if you mess up over there, you really are in trouble. Trouble. Let's see if I can get this in the cup. At this distance, wind shouldn't play a factor. I mean, with that kind of wind, it shouldn't play too big of a factor. Hit it great to the right. Just on the outside. At that distance, if you miss great to the left or the right, you'll probably miss. You can hedge your bets. I could have moved it over a little bit more to the right, and that would have opened up a great to the left and a perfect. But in that scenario, the way that the wind was blowing, one side or the other, I'm going to have something that I'm going to miss if I don't hit it perfect. Let's see if my opponent can get up there since I've opened the door. Water hazard. In the cup. Birdie. Now, to me, as a one-on-one player playing out here, that was an epic fail on that hole, because this is the minimum score on this hole is eagle, and You need to be able to come into these holes and achieve minimum score when you're playing one-on-one. What'll happen is you'll win a lot of holes just out on the course. I think realistically, if you play to minimum score in one-on-one, you're going to 50% of the time win out on the course, and 50% of the time you're going to go to shootouts. If you can win half the shootouts, you're a 75% player right there. My goal is 2 out of 3 ain't bad. When you think about play time, as far as like what it takes to open up your pin chest every day or to cycle through and get 4 gold chests every day, if you're working on your club cards, trying to get your clubs, your commons maxed out so you can participate in the prism chest, the better your win percentage is. The win percentage that we see in our stats is so skewed, especially if you've been playing for a long time. Especially if you play in a lot of tournaments and you forfeit in shootouts. I probably have 1,400 of my played 8,489 games. I got 4,578 wins, and I can tell you right now, it's pretty close. I've opened 4,578 chests plus whatever chests I've won in tournaments or the daily chests and the pin chests and that stuff. But I don't very seldom play where I don't have a slot to get a chest. But the win percentage is very skewed because I think I've played in 60 some odd tournaments and I've got, I don't know, 1,400, at least 1,400 forfeits in shootouts. So that number can be very skewed. So don't look really at your win percentage. I wish that they had a win percentage for our last 100 games because then we could really tell where we're at now, not where we're at as a whole. But trying to get your win percentage up so that it takes less time to fill this pin chest and get 4 gold chests across the board when you're talking about your playtime, maximizing your playtime each day. At least in my own personal game, I find that if you go out there in one-on-one play and you play conservative, where you keep your ball in play, you hit your ball forward down the field, stay in the fairway, hit your ball forward down the field, get on the green, that most players are going to go out there and do crazy stuff. And you'll be able to mop them up. Switch to a Marlin here since we're on these holes. And give myself a little bit of room here so I can take the wind out. I want to be 5 rings off of any transitional surface. With a quarterback, it's about 3 when you're doing these types of shots. Max curl. Hitting it great to the right. Just trying to eke up towards those shadows. And that'll be a sniper shot coming in. Whenever you're doing a max curl shot with a QB, in my experience, you need to be 3 rings off of any transitional surface. And then when you put that, and then your opponent's going to be looking at you thinking, what are you doing, dude? You're going out into the middle of the river because curl's not represented in your ball guide. But when you put that curl on there, it'll swing it back around into the fairway. With a rock, the rock has more curl than a quarterback, and you have to give yourself more room for that curl to become effective. Otherwise, you'll over curl it, and you'll end up in the rough on this side. Whenever I'm doing a curl shot, I'm always at least 3 rings off, just to give that curl the opportunity to get involved and to produce the result that you want. You've got to give yourself room. Don't pinch yourself. I see that all the time. People pinch themselves up against the surface because they're trying to go to the right. They're like, I need to go to the right. I need to move my ball as far to the right as I can and pinch myself up against that so I can get in that direction, not thinking about how curl works. Nice and easy. So what I really want to know here is like where my ball is going to end versus where the cup is at. Hey, get over here so I can see you. And then I've got to swing the ball that distance. So 6-4. There's 5, 6, 4. And then I'm going to put a little bit of curl on it to bring it back to the cup. Hitting it perfect. Let's see if I got my speed right. Close. A little too long. When I made that last change, that was a little too long. But trying when you're doing those shots coming into the cup and you can't get right on it, what a lot of people will do there is they'll pinch themselves right up against that. Let's see if my opponent does it. They'll pinch themselves right up against that rough, trying so that they're not having to apply curl. And whenever you apply curl, you have to admit that it does diminish the chances that you're going to make it in the hole. But right here, the goal is not to get in the hole. The goal is to get up there and put pressure on my opponent. And so my opponent's wanting to get close to this hole, and look how close they are to the left-hand rough there. So if they make a bad wind adjustment, let's see if they make a good wind adjustment, or if they hit it great to the left, it's going in that rough. That was about a 5.5 ring pull. So they left about a mile per hour in there, which is enough to get them in the rough, and they hit it great to the left. And I can't believe they didn't hit that. Right there. And the deal is that they got the result they were looking for, but they took big risks in getting that result when they didn't have to. They could have just moved it out just a little bit more and put a little bit of curl on it, and they would have avoided that rough. Whether they hit perfect, great to the left, great to the right, it wouldn't have mattered. They'd ended up on the green, take your putt, go to a shootout, and move along. When you're playing one-on-one, for me, it's either, my goal is to win out on the course, and if I don't, then I want to force a shootout. I don't often lose where I just get beat out on the course. If I get beat, it's typically in a shootout. And partially for me there, it's because I play from one tour to the next. I don't hang out in any one tour. And so I'll forget, like T7, I'll play T7 Monday and Tuesday after a tournament. And then the new tournament comes out, and then I'm caught up in all of that stuff. And then it may be a week and a half, 2 weeks before I go back to T7. And I have a hard time remembering what all of the shootouts are because I'm not playing that tour every day. Okay, so I'm pretty close to max club here. And I am way downhill. So it's 3.9. I'm gonna count that as a 4, and I'm gonna do a 30% over pull, which is 1.2. So that's gonna be 5.2. And I'll have to snap it off. And I hit it great to the right. Great to the right. Great to the right. Da-da-da-da. Get in the hole. I like to have fun when I play this game, and I like to have fun with my opponents when I'm playing the game. I like to encourage my opponents to do good shots and to do good, and congratulate them when they make great shots and they beat me, and try and replay people so we can get the community built up so we're not just constantly having to go back to the main screen and coming back in, win or lose. That's why, and that's part of the real golf. Real golf, when you're out there on the course, if you're playing with people who really respect golf and like golf, it's and they say it's the gentleman's or gentle ladies game. It is a game of where people are respectful of the competitors around them, and I love it. I like golf. I've been playing golf forever. I tried a bunch of app games. When I switched, I used to play Clash of Kings, and when I switched and I started playing this, I was like, I wasn't sure what kind of game I was looking for, so I thought, well, I'm going to try out all the golf games. So I downloaded about 8 or 9 different golf games. through the Play Store, and we went on vacation. And while that first few days we were there, I was checking out the games to see what the deal was. And a lot of the golf games that are out there are too much like a simulation. One of the things I liked about Golf Clash was is it bridges that gap between simulation and arcade. So you get that arcade feel, but to be really good at it, there has to be a method for dealing with the wind, and that's that simulation side where this stuff, I can guarantee you that none of this stuff translates out to the real course. However, there are a lot of real course things that translate to this. Because I know in real golf, I'm big about, everybody may be going to a certain area because it's shorter from that area to the cup. But the angle you have to hit over a sand trap. So that means when you engage the green, you've got to have some backspin, or you've got to have some movement on your ball from that spot. Whereas if you hit it just a little bit further back and to the right, you've got a wide open mouth into the green and you can run it up there. And so I may be trying to hit to a different spot just because of the angles. And I think this game has a lot of that same stuff. And people don't really look at the angles. They're like, they want to hit it in one direction. And it's like, that may not be the right direction. Wow, 9-5. I'll have to bring out a big boy. Okay, so to get up there, I need to be 2 rings into power. So I'm going to take the wind out. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. I'm going to take out a little bit more. And then I'm going to put 2 miles per hour of wind back in it. Hitting it perfect. Let's see if we can land up in the fairway out here. Clearing easy. I'm going to drift off just like my opponent. Ooh, in the rough. I watched a video today. I was in Hammer and Hank's stream a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about on the clock scale being at 12:01 or 11:59 on a perfect shot. And at the time, I was trying to figure out what the hell he was talking about. And I went and watched the video from the guy that was talking about it, and it's definitely something I never thought about before, like on the variance. But I've noticed that before, and I'm going to talk about it here. Let me get this shot set up. I might be able to bleed through that. It's doubtful, but I might. 2, 4, 6, 8. 4, 6, 8. And just a little bit of overpower on it. Not enough to make that needle go super crazy. Just enough to get me caught up in the rough. I could have laid it up there with my opponents in the rough. I'll give them a break. We'll do the rough. We'll do the rough shot. I feel supremely confident doing rough shot. So we'll see if we can get it in there. So watch that needle up there. Let's talk about this 11:59, 12:01. Look at the needle for the wind. And you can see how it's bouncing back and forth. And it's wobbling on an axis. So if it's wobbling to the left, that's the 11:59. If it's wobbling to the right, that's the 12:01. And so watch when I do my shot setup here. So let me set it up and then I'll engage it. Where am I at? There's max. There's mid. We're in that 16 per ring range. Maybe we're right about in the 16 per ring range. So watch the wobble. So when you're wobbling it, like you can turn the deal and there's a big variance here. So it's 16 per ring and that's 8. So we're a little over a half a ring. Let's try and hit it perfect. Hit it great to the right. Had to snap that off. I was running out of time. But it takes very little movement. I hit it great to the right and look at where it's at. So people think when they're using their rough irons, they've got to do these big movements. That was a 16 mile an hour per ring area. And on an 8 mile an hour thing, it's a half a ring. So in accuracy wise, if you think about some of the clubs that we think of as big accuracy, let's take a Grizzly as an example. It's 100% accurate when it's at max. I'm playing at like 1.75 at minimum. So the ring goes from 1 mile per hour per ring at max to 1.75. You think about like making adjustments. If you've got a 3 mile an hour wind, or let's say you had a 3.5 mile an hour wind, in that scenario, you'd move 2 rings. If you were in that same distance, if you were in the quarter range with, or 3/8, even half range with your rough iron, you'd be hitting 6 per ring, 8 per ring, 16 per ring. So instead of doing a 2-ring pull, you may be doing a quarter of a ring, an eighth of a ring. It's going to be a very minute adjustment. I always know when I'm out on the course and I'm playing somebody and they've got a rough iron shot, especially when they're up on me. And it's like, hey, you know, if they make this rough iron shot, they can make it to win. I can watch their shot set up, and I know that unless they hit that great to the right or the left because they didn't do the wind right, they don't have any shot at all. Because they did way too much of an adjustment on it because they think of their rough iron. They know their rough iron's max numbers, but they don't understand how the rough iron and the sand wedge work when they're up close. They're super accurate when they're up close. It takes very, very minute adjustments. My opponent has disconnected. So in order to properly use the 1159, 1201 scenario here, what needs to happen? Why are we at a shootout? Okay, 4, 8, and I'm going to count that as 5, and I'm going to add on 30%. So that's going to be 6, 5. So there's 6. And I don't want to get caught up with that sand movement. So I'll stop at 6. Hitting it great to the left. And then they forfeit. What is the deal here? I don't even know how we ended up at a shootout with them timing out. I'm not sure exactly what the deal was there. I'm going to have to go back and watch that video myself just to find out what the heck just happened. They timed out. Maybe they were taking the shot while it was doing the thing, and I didn't see that. That's strange. So let me draw this out real quick. So it'll be hard for me to do it. I pushed the wrong button there. It'll be hard for me to do it because I don't have a grid. So if you have the grid set up here, on one of them, there's a grid that's up here for your arrow. So when you're making the pull, your arrow is going like, okay, all right, let me start that over again. If I can learn how to draw today. So your arrow comes up like this, and your arrow is wobbling back and forth. So we're going to call this the east, and we're going to call this the west, and this would be north, and this would be south. And it's wobbling back and forth on an axis. So if you're right down the center of that line on your take shot, then you're involved in this wobble. So if you're right down the center of the line, it's only going to wobble. So if we do it in a bigger scale here, if it may wobble over to this spot, and it may wobble over to that spot. So on your wobble, it's wobbling back and forth, and this is the farthest to the left, and this is the farthest to the right. So if you're trying to take the shot to the right, and this will be something that I'm gonna explore this and work the deal, because I like to have movement on my ball. If you watch my videos on a regular basis, I love to have movement on my ball, because I think you have a much harder shot of always ending up in the fairway if you're doing straightforward shots. But if you're putting movement on the ball, you can make the ball go into the fairway, because you're putting everything in that direction. So if you're trying to get let's say you were trying to do a shot and you were trying to get every single thing to go to the right. If you start off with where you're engaging it on the wobble on the 1159, excuse me, then it wants to push the ball off to the left. If you engage it on the 1201, where you're picking up the wobble when it's going to the right, then it's going to increase your odds that you're going to go to the right. And it's not going to straighten your ball out. And while that seems like it's not a big deal, next time you're out on the course and playing a friendly and you don't care if you win or lose, go set your ball up so that you're on the 1201, and then change your perspective so that you're on the 1159, and it will change. It's a pretty big change out on the course. So, not having thought about this before, I'm going to have to really work this to see how that works, especially on those shots where we come up to the green. And I've had this happen, and I know everybody's had this happen, where you've got your cup right here, and no matter what you seem to do, the ball always wants to be on the right-hand side of the cup, or the ball always wants to be on the left-hand side of the cup, and you're always just a little off. I've had this happen, I don't know how many times. I'm on the right-hand side of the cup, just off. I make a wind adjustment. Or I set the ball up so that I'm not pointing right at the flagpole. I'm pointing right here in the middle of the cup, thinking that, hey, I'll make up that distance. And then I still end up right to the right, right to the right, right to the right, right to the right. No matter what change I make. Sometimes you'll watch my videos and I'll go, I'm doing a 30% wind adjustment on this, and everybody else is talking 10. Because I am sick of being over here to the right, and I want to see what the heck it takes to get this ball to go to the left. And I think maybe the deal is that if I watch this needle and I hit it at 1159, it'll force the ball to stay on a straighter path, and it won't drift off to the right. Or you could, so this is going to be one of those things that I'm going to have to practice to see how it affects the ball and how it affects my game. You might get on a hole where you're like, hey, the way that we want this ball to go, I want the ball to stay straight because I keep ending up to the right, and I'm going to hit the 1159. And then that may not work. And then you try the other side, and that may work. So I think this is absolutely worth exploring. But in order to do this effectively, so that you can really see the line that you're pulling it at, you're going to need a ball guide. You're going to need a grid. And you're going to need a grid that includes a line up here for your needle. There'll be a small section up here, and then you'll have your main grid. And I'm really thinking about using a grid just because I don't trust, when we're on flat ground, I think the take shot with the ball is fine. And I'm used to using it. I've used it forever. And even though they've changed it, it's not what it used to be. And it seems like it's more of it at an angle. I really don't have a problem using the take shot. But when you're on way downhill shots, where you're way up here and you're shooting down to this spot right here, I do think that it feels like you're missing an angle here, so that when your perspective's on it, there's a gap in here that you're not getting, and it can throw your shot off. And even though it's just a very small little gap, it just seems like there is one, and there probably isn't. But with the grid lines, they're flat on the screen, and you're going to be able to, I think, take out that wind a lot more effectively. One of my viewers commented, and this is absolutely true. If you're playing in upper tours, this grid's really going to help you, because you've got your grid here. And you can set your white line up against this line right here. Thinking about drawing to here, you can draw from this white line to the other white line. So you draw it this way. There's 10 rings, and you can keep drawing it. So if you're in a 18 mile an hour wind, you can take that wind out in one pull, instead of having to take out half of it and then reset and then take out half of it and do it in a double pull. With a grid, with a screen grid, you can do these wind pulls in one pull, as opposed to having to double set it or triple set it. So one of the things about when you're playing in upper tours, if you're playing in tour 10 or 11 and you've got these massive winds and you're using a 100% accurate club and you get a 16-mile-an-hour wind, that's a 4-ring pull. I mean, you're going to have to do your 5, do your 5, do your 5, and then do your 1. Whereas if you had a grid like this, you could do that entire pull in one pull. That is a huge benefit, huge. But I think that the benefit of being able to, you've got a straight line in the center, but I think this line up here is going to be required if we're going to use the 1159, 1201 stuff. There's a video. Go into my YouTube channel, and I posted the video on what's cheating. And one of my viewers posted in there, gave a link to a video where the guy talks about this 1201. I like the video because it taught me something, but I wish the guy would have drawn it out on a piece of paper, drawn it out like this so that we could talk about it. So I'm gonna work on that this week so that I can get that worked out and shoot a video for you guys on it. But that is the new trick that we want to learn, because I do think that that's going to make a big difference on some of those greens, and it's definitely something that I hadn't considered before or thought of. I know that when you're playing upper tours, you have to deal with secondary wind effect. We don't have it as much in rookie because our winds are lower. But if you're playing up in Tour 7, Tour 8, Tour 9, and one-on-one, and you're like, wow, I'm just slightly off the cup on all these, oh man, we got this massive headwind. There's just no way I'm going to be able to get up there. And that's 2.5 rings. I'd have to bring out a monster ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring, let's see what I have for Grizzly, Saturn. I'm going to try the Grizzly and see how that works. Let's explore this shot from over here. 6 rings. There's 5, 6. Just hitting it straight forward. 1 ring, great to the right. Da 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 da. You know what's cool about a 100% accurate club is you can hit 1 ring great to the right, and very seldom do you ever end up in the rough, unless you set the shot up so tight that you didn't give yourself room. I'm just constantly amazed at how few people I play against who switched on some of these holes to an accurate bag. I mean, for most people, it's almost like either they're in clans where they don't have multiple bags, or they have multiple bags and they don't really use them. Because there's a lot of these holes when you're doing shots, it's like, why aren't you bringing out your accurate bag on that? You're just laying that shot up. My opponent's out there rolling towards the sand. Now the deal with coming to the hole from this side is that, especially if you're way up at the top, if you bring a bigger ball, you can be way up here at the top, is look at the moguls that we're going through as we're coming through here. So if you're trying to do certain shots where you're running it in there like I'm doing right here, that ball guide gets affected by those moguls. Right on the cup. 1-5. Very slight adjustment. Get in the hole. And hit it great to the left. Great to the left. It helps if you want to make those shots if you hit them perfect. Just saying. I remember back in the day when I hit 2 shots perfect in a row. That's what it feels like sometimes. You know, the deal in tournaments is that's exactly what it feels like in tournaments, is when you're trying to pick up those extra shots. The thing about tournaments is that people have the misconception. Some tournaments you do have to, I mean, you want to pick up every shot that you can, obviously. But they look at the scores. The last tournament that we were in, the 3rd anniversary tournament, it was very close, very nice shot. The minimum score we were looking for was minus 24. Anything better than that was a potential win. And of the holes that were in that tournament, there was 10 opportunities to pick up a shot. And you only needed to pick up, of those 10 opportunities, if you picked up 4, that was pretty much, I mean, if you shot a 28 and got beat, you got unlucky with your bracket. Unlucky, because 28, 27 in most brackets was a winning score. If you were at 27, you could get caught up in tiebreakers, but the 28, if you shot a 28 and got beat, then, I mean, you got beat. And to pick up those extra shots you got 10 opportunities to pick up a shot. You want to pick up 4 of those 10. I'm going to do the rough bump here. Man club. It doesn't take very many pickups in order to get yourself up there towards the top of the charts. All right, 3-9. I'm in mid club, so it's about 1-2 per ring. So there's 3-6. There's about 3-9, and I'm going to go just a little bit farther. I'm going to do like a 20% pull on it because I'm dealing with a headwind. The question is it count as mid club there, or is it hitting at minimum or mid? It looked like it was hitting right on at mid. Nice and easy. So if you've got 10 shots and you need to pick up 4, that means you need to pick up 40% of those extra shots. The ones that kill me in the weekend round are the ones I went back and watched my weekend round there, and I had a great weekend round. I shot a 26. I smoked it out on the front. I was on fire on the front. I picked up 2 shots on the front. I got everything I needed done on the front done. But when I got to the back, I played the minimum score. I played the minus 12, and I just couldn't pick up anything. But when I go back and watch the video, I had shots coming into the cup. Of those 10, I had about 5 of them that were perfect shots, and I only made 2. And so that means there was 3 of those perfect shots that didn't go in the hole, and those are the ones that are the killers. Those are the ones that break my heart, because I just have this anticipation that if I set that shot up and I hit it perfect, it's going to go in the cup. I mean, you have to have that belief, otherwise you're in big, big trouble. I mean, if you come in as a player and you don't believe that if I set this shot up and I hit it perfect, it's going to go in the cup, you have to have that belief, because that gives you that confidence when you go to that hole. It's like, hey, I've got this in the bag. Sometimes I'll make a mistake and I'll end up in the sand, or I'll end up in the rough, or I'll end up doing a shot, and I'm irritated that I made a mistake on the shot, but the deal is that I can make that next shot. I have 100% confidence that I'm going to be able to make that next shot and get it up there into the cup. And then to go up there and hit perfects and not make it in the cup just pisses me off. This is no bueno. 2-4. It's a little less than 3 rings. You see how that needle's wobbling up there? If I had a grid line up there, I could start using it. I'm going to get the grid line and start using that so that I can start exploring that stuff. I've just a bit short. I've been contemplating using the grid line for a long time, and I've been contemplating going back when Golf Clash Notebook first came out. I got it like as soon as it came out. And I used it in one-on-one play and practiced with it a bit. And then I went out and played one of the tournaments. Is it the Eagle Peak holes? One of those holes. It was a brand new holes. We'd never played them before. And so I went out there and used the app, and there was things that I liked about the app, but it's all about trusting those numbers. And if you're using one set of numbers, sticking to them And I'm contemplating going back and using it again, because I think a lot of people that watch my channel and that are in the community are using something, and it would help standardize our numbers. Where in the hell? There's Grizzly. That transitional line between the Grizzly and the Hornet is so small, I miss it sometimes. The transitional line on the Saturn, and the backbone's a little bit bigger. 2.9. We're at max club, so there's 2.2. Leaves me 6. Do 2.5 rings. And I'm going to have to snap it. Hitting it perfect. And I don't even know how I got that off in time. Not sure. The competition level in this game is getting better. And people are getting better and better at the game. The scores are getting lower and lower. The scores are already low, but the scores it's tight up at the top. And if you're playing and you're a top 10 player and you get into the top 10 on a regular basis, the scores at the top are, I mean, it's tight. I mean, you can't have any mistakes. You need to pick up everything that you can and maintaining that level, trying to, progress as the game progresses. I know the apps have been out for a long time, and I know we've had access to these tools. And up to this point, my game has been, I mean, I'm a decent player. But if I can do something, if there's something out there that I'm not using that can increase my ability to have better finishes, then I have to pay attention to it. And I think for a lot of you that listen to my channel, and I super appreciate you guys listen to my channel, that by doing the old-fashioned numbers where I'm doing the pencil and paper, that sometimes we don't get to in the community when they come out with different shots or different numbers or different adjustments that we make, we may not be able to participate as much because we're using a different set of numbers. We do a 30% overpull, so it's 5.8. That's going to be 15, 16, 17, 4. That's 1.74. That's 6. That's 8.5. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 5. See, it's that kind of math right there. You could plug that in, and hitting it great to the left doesn't help, but you can plug that in. You could plug that into your app, and you could end up with those numbers, and it'll tell you need to move it 6.2 rings or 5.8 rings or whatever rings, and it makes that math for you and does the deal. It's almost like having a caddy out on the course, and the caddy says, hey, man, the wind's blowing from the left to the right, and it's 152 yards, and I know based off of your stuff you need to bring out this club, or you need to bring out your 9-iron, or the caddy's helping you, assisting you, doing some of that stuff. You as the player still have to take the shot, but you do have somebody that's helping you. And I think having one of those programs there to help you do that math. Playdemic has nobody to blame it themselves, because when the game first came out, we had to figure out as players how to use the rings so that we could adjust out wind and come up with some deal. And Playdemic has encouraged that by the small changes that they've made in the game since the game came out. And they have encouraged and they have promoted more of this math, more of us having to do these adjustments in order to get it into the cup. So it's a natural progression that somebody's going to come out with something that's going to help us do the math. Part of the deal is I hate to lose. I mean, it's the deal is, I mean, losing is part of playing any game. It's just how it works. I mean, you're not going to, I'm going to use my QV because I like it better on this hole. The QB shot's a little more standard. I don't need quite all the topspin. 3 rings off. I'm going to do 1 ring. Max curl, no overpower. Hitting it perfect. Just trying to bleed myself down there towards the bottom. With the Marlin ball. Let's see how my opponent does with an APOC. What level is that APOC? APOC 2. I think more people should start playing with these epics, the APOCs and the Cataclysm and the Thor's Hammer. If you're in rookie and you've got upper developed clubs and you have those, do not feel ashamed of pulling those out. If you have been watching my videos for a long time and you're like, wow, you don't use an APOC very often, I will tell you that the reason I don't use an APOC very often is because I just got an APOC. It took 2 years for me to get an Apocalypse in this account. And with the club card trading, I've been able to get it to level 4 very quick. If it was just in regular play, it would have taken me a long time to get it to level 4. But I literally just got it. And so I'm getting used to the fact that I have it in my bag. There's 5. 1. Hitting it perfect. Give myself a look. Get in the hole. Come on. See that Albie here. I think I'm going to be a little short. Right in the cup. Woo! Albatross. That's what I'm talking about. Now this hole was just recently in a tournament. I don't know that I got an Albie on. I think I got 1 Albie on it all week. What's funny is I come out on these holes and I play them exclusively in one-on-one with a Marlin. And I have a lot of success on these holes. Tournament time comes along and I put myself in the perfect spot with the perfect ball. And you would think that you would raise that percentage up and you would get more drops. But it seems like in the tournament with the wind, here we have a pure tailwind. So you can make a slight error on the wind adjustment and still get it to the cup. But when you're dealing with crosswinds, it's a little bit tougher. Get in the hole. Good game. Good game, man. How much time we got on this video? 42 minutes, 47 minutes. Jeez. What have I been doing? Hole 9, par 5, platinum chest. That's what I'm talking about. Let's share that video. Now it's going to go to that screen where it won't let us share to the clan. Won't let me stop the video. All right. Let's get out and go back through the DL. Sorry about that. Hold on 1 second. All right, sorry about that. So I think I got enough time on this video. We can play both of the, finish out that pin chest. Let's go back to Tour 5. See if we can get any of these tournament holes with some more favorable wind that's going to be more like what we'll get in the tournament. Sunshine Glades right here. No, I think this is the hole. I want to play this hole. I'm going to play this hole this term. I'm going to switch this up. I've been playing this hole. Is this the one? No. I am going to switch this hole up as well, and I'm going to try and do the rough bump here. So I want to bring, I'm not sure if I have a Guardian in any of my bags, but I'm going to bring, if I do, I'm going to bring whatever bag that is with the Guardian. We've got wind that can get us over there if I bring out a big enough ball, and I want to see how far I can get up here. I won't have a good secondary club. Like if I get up into my long iron range, I think all of my long irons, maybe Grizzlies. I think in the one, I think I do have a Saturn in one of the bags, but I'm not sure if I've got a Guardian. A Guardian's really what I want to use here. If I do the rough bump, I can do it with any club, but a Guardian will get me a little more raw distance. So I do have a Guardian there. So this is the bag I'm going to use. I want to see what kind of distance, what it looks like when I'm up there in distance. Like what kind of distance can I get? No, you're not going to get any distance at all if you slice it. And the drink. That is funny. So now what I need to do is get over there and then get the eagle that should have been an Albie, catch up, go to the shootout. I got this in the bag. I'm up for the challenge. That was funny. See what happens? Best of intentions. Go out there with the best of intentions and then screw the shot up. Epic. Epic fail. And now we don't have as favorable a wind. Of course. I wanted to be a little bit more out on this side anyways. I want to be where the second bounce is right on that rough area. Then I could put a little more curl on it. And I hit it great to the left. About 2 rings. Put myself out there in a spot. I don't know from that distance if I have enough that I can do the rough bump. I think it's going to be really dependent on the way the wind's blowing. I think I needed to get a little bit more forward distance in order to get into the rough bump range. I think as it sits right here, I'll probably have to do overpower on it. Nice shot. Nice shot, man. Let's see if I can get up there. I can get up there. I'm going to do the rough bump right off of this rough right there. Right to the cup. Where I'm at my club. There's max. There's minimum. So I'm eking towards the mid club. Should be roughly in the 1.5 per ring range with this club. 1.5 per ring. So it's a ring and a third. If I can get it at the right direction, it's a ring and a third. I'm going to have to snap it. And hit great to the right. That's definitely the shot that I'm going to be taking in the tournament. I'm going to do a rough bump this time. When this hole first came out, I remember trying to get way up there and trying to come at it with a long iron. And the green's problematic on that side. There's some moguls. And so depending on what long iron you bring, if you're bringing a long iron and it's got backspin, you can try and hop over the moguls and not engage them. And then I went to the sniper shot because the sniper shots, and you're actually kind of laying it up. You're not trying to get max distance. There's a spot out there where you've got a beautiful sniper shot. But I really think that rough bump may be the way to go. I think the ball is going to come out a lot straighter. You're going to get a lot better feed coming into it. Sometimes when you're trying to run those balls into a cup, you give it so much time out on the fairway that it engages. If it engages anything, it'll change its trajectory, and you're always just a little off on the other end. And no matter what adjustment you make, you still seem to be a little bit off. But those rough bumps tend to run a little straighter. If you hit your first shot perfect and you set it up, it tends to run in that direction pretty true. So I'm definitely I want to increase my odds of getting an Albie on that hole. And I think by doing the rough bump, I'm giving myself a pretty, that might be the best way. Let's switch to a Accurate bag, and let's switch to Marlin. Trying to get down into the hole. 3.5s, 3.5 rings. 3.5 rings. Hitting it perfect. Trying to weasel my way down to the end of that thing. Anywhere in there will work fine. My opponent's in the fairway. They're for sure going to get on, or they're for sure going to have a shot to get on. So when you're in that situation and you're a one-on-one, no matter what level you're playing, you need to give yourself a look at it. So stay in the fairway. My opponent's trying the rough bump. My teammates are on Messenger chatting. Nice rough bump. See if they can catch it or if they get bled off into the... Nice. Let's see if we can get it in the hole.